This is Section 174, a taxing tale for Yeti and our clients. You might have heard some conversations between us and our clients about R&D tax credits and Section 174 and some troubles and things with that. I'm going to quickly just kind of touch on like what that is and like what that means, because I think it's valuable for people to understand, and then some potential action items if you feel so inclined. Okay, so the R&D tax credits have been in place since 1981. They create an incentive for companies to do R&D in the United States, and gives a small percentage of that of what you spend in R&D as a tax credit. So it's basically an incentive. Hey, we want you to invent things here in the United States. Here it is. There's like a 4-part test. And so for us specifically at Yeti, like we do R&D all day, but we're not taking R&D tax credits for everything. A lot of times our clients are actually taking the tax credit because they are taking like the risk of the R&D. And so there's some tests and things like that that you can run through to determine what is R&D or not. But yeah, like I said, like we qualify for some of this stuff, like when we're doing things, like when we're building internal products and we're building internal processes and things like that, like those things qualify for R&D. And then our clients can qualify for an R&D tax credit for what they spend with us. So it's kind of a win-win situation historically. So this initiative has worked. Like, it went into effect in 1981. You can see that like R&D specifically with private businesses has increased dramatically at a time that our federal government has been decreasing how much R&D they actually spend. So generally, like, it's a good thing, like these R&D tax credits. Like, you want businesses to innovate, you want your country to be innovative, and all that stuff. So that's that. So what does it mean quickly? I'm not going to spend a ton of time in like spreadsheet land, but like, this is just a round numbers and stuff. But let's say like a business was making $5 million and they had general just expenses of 4 million. Before they spent money on R&D, they would have made $1 million. For R&D, they're putting, let's say they have a contract with us, they give us $500,000. Then that means that their total profit in their company is $500,000, and that's what they would get taxed on. Plus they'd get an incentive for spending $500,000 on R&D. That is, and that's what would happen every 5 years. That's a good thing. That makes sense, seems fair to me. You spend the money, that therefore it's not a profit, and you get taxed on what you haven't spent. So just some quick facts. Private businesses make up 75% of all R&D expenditures. Small businesses contribute $90 billion towards R&D annually. Every $1 billion spent on R&D creates 17,000 good paying jobs. This is obviously something worth incentivizing. We like this. We like, having things made and innovated in the United States of America. Yay. So the problem, and since it's Halloween, I got a little Halloween font here, is this Section 174. So I don't know if you all remember, in 2017, there was kind of this like rushed tax act pushed through Congress and signed, and it was called the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. There was this clause that they put into it that obviously wasn't really thought through that much, but what it said was that starting in 2022, you couldn't expense your R&D in the year that you spent it, and you had to amortize it over 5 years. Amortization means that cost needs to be spread over 5 years. It's not something that you can just say that you spent that you spent that year. So I'm going to explain why this is sort of problematic for this. So it means that businesses that are spending money in R&D can't write off that in the year that they spent it. They have to write it off over 5 years. And so this has kind of turned what was a pretty good incentive into a deterrent, because you're showing a lot more profit than you actually kind of really have. So taking like the same example that we had, this company, before spending money on R&D, has has made a $500,000 investment. They can actually only write off 1/5 of that because they have to spread it over 5 years. So it looks like they have they actually have $900,000 in taxable income, but they actually have only really in cash made $500,000. So it doesn't really make that much sense. And as an example, and especially because most of the R&D expense is actually paying salaries and things like that. So you pay a salary, and then someone's not going to necessarily be like, okay, cool, that's fine. Yeah, that'll be my payment over 5 years. It's like you spend it, and that's that. So it's fairly problematic in the sense that you're getting taxed $900,000, but you only have 500,000. Over 5 years it will kind of work out, but that's over 5 years, and that's a long time for most businesses that aren't like giant corporations. And then a fun fact with just where our tax code is right now, our business could buy a fully loaded Ford F-250 as long as it's over 6,000 pounds, and we can fully expense that in 1 year. But salaries that you spend on R&D, you have to amortize over 5 years now. So tell me how that makes sense. I don't know. So the bottom line is everybody wants this fixed. It literally disincentivizes innovation for businesses. There's no other developed country in the world that requires that you amortize R&D expenses over 5 years, or anything. It's all that year that you spend it. So it was generally considered, ever since it went into law in 2017, that at least by the time people started paying their taxes in 2022, that it was going to get fixed. But guess what? It hasn't gotten fixed. So there's been several bipartisan bills from both sides of the aisle that have gone through and been these are just two of them, but that have gone through and been hey, let's get this fixed. This doesn't really make sense. And it hasn't happened. I mean, we don't have a Congress that can even introduce bills right now. So yay. So basically, what can we actually do about it? Unfortunately, not too much. We kind of have to wait until this gets figured out. I mean, Yeti, us as a business, we've just had to pay a fairly significantly larger tax bill this year. Our clients have had to pay a significantly larger tax bill. People are cutting back on R&D expenses because they're not incentivized to do R&D as much. So there's a letter for an organization called the Software Small Business Alliance that you all can go sign. I've signed it. Bunch of other people I know have signed it that own businesses. You can reach out to your congressperson and be like, hey, I work for a business that this is really important, and I've noticed a cutback on clients doing business with us because you are not incentivizing it in the tax code. But I mean, until Congress kind of does their thing, there's not really much we can do other than just deal with it. And so that's what we're doing. And you can make a lunch and learn and kind of encourage people to sign things and reach out to their congresspeople. But that's it.